February 15, 1995, Raleigh, North Carolina. It's the middle of the night. The air is cold and still. A light mist hangs in the darkness. Dozens of FBI agents in full tactical gear move silently through the shadows, their boots barely making a sound on the wet pavement. Guns drawn, flashlights off, hearts pounding with anticipation and adrenaline. They surround a quiet, unassuming apartment building. No sirens, no flashing lights yet. Everything is calculated and precise. This is not a raid on a violent criminal or a terrorist with guns. Their target is something far more unusual and elusive. Their target is just one man, a hacker who could break into almost any computer system on Earth with nothing but a phone call and a calm, confident voice. A man who turned the simple act of conversation into the ultimate weapon of infiltration. This is the true story of Kevin Mitnick, the hacker the FBI couldn't catch for years. Kevin grew up in Los Angeles in the 1970s. In a regular working-class family, life was ordinary with school, friends, and typical teenage routines. But from an early age, Kevin was different. He wasn't interested in money or destruction or causing any harm. He was simply obsessed with one thing above all else: understanding how everything worked. As a young boy, he became completely fascinated by the telephone system. He would spend countless hours in phone booths all over the city, listening carefully to the different tones and signals. Studying exactly how calls connected across the country, he learned about the underground art known as phone phreaking, the clever manipulation of the phone network using sounds, frequencies, and simple tricks. He practiced for endless hours, perfecting his technique and training his ear to recognize every single subtle frequency and pattern. By the time he reached his teenage years, Kevin had already mastered the basics of this world. He could make free long-distance calls to anywhere he wanted and explore the hidden parts of the massive telephone infrastructure that connected the entire nation. But his curiosity grew stronger. He wanted more knowledge. He wanted to understand computers, the exciting new technological frontier that was just beginning to emerge in the late 1970s. At just 16 years old in 1979, he made his first truly big move into that world. He picked up the phone one day and called an employee at Digital Equipment Corporation, one of the biggest and most important computer companies of the entire era. Pretending to be from the internal support team, he used a calm, confident, and extremely friendly voice. He explained that there was a technical issue that needed immediate attention for the good of the company. The employee, wanting to be helpful and do the right thing, gave him full access codes and system details without any hesitation or suspicion. No fancy programming code, no complex viruses or malware, just carefully chosen words spoken in the perfect tone at the perfect moment. That single phone call opened the door to an entirely new world of possibilities. Kevin realized something incredibly powerful and life-changing that day. People are often the weakest link in any security system, no matter how advanced the technology is. If you truly understood how to talk to them, how to build instant trust, how to make them feel like they were helping a colleague or solving an important problem, you could bypass even the strongest technical defenses with ease. Over the next few years, Kevin dedicated himself fully and became an absolute master of what is known as social engineering. He didn't rely on advanced coding skills or technical exploits. Instead, he relied on perfect timing, the perfect tone of voice, and a deep intuitive understanding of human psychology and behavior. He would regularly call major companies such as Pacific Bell, Motorola, Nokia, and various government contractors. Sometimes he posed as a frustrated high-level executive who was furious about a technical problem that was supposedly costing the company millions of dollars. Other times, he acted as a helpful technician from another department who was trying to fix an urgent system outage that affected everyone. He always knew exactly what story to tell, what specific details to include, and exactly how much urgency or pressure to apply in each situation. People trusted him almost immediately. They handed over passwords, access codes, source code, and highly sensitive internal information without ever realizing they were being skillfully manipulated. Kevin had a gift for making them feel important and valued. He made them feel like they were doing the right thing for the company and for their team. He also learned advanced techniques to clone mobile phones so he could travel around the country completely undetected by any tracking systems. He copied software worth millions of dollars not to sell it on any black market, but simply to prove to himself that he could achieve it. He explored the internal networks of these massive corporations for months at a time, quietly reading private emails between executives and listening in on confidential phone calls. By the late 1980s, major corporations and even parts of the government were on high alert because of his activities. Kevin was already deep inside their most protected systems. He had become a legend in certain underground circles, but he remained completely invisible to the general public. The FBI finally managed to catch him once in 1988. He served a relatively short sentence and was released. But as soon as he walked out of prison, he disappeared again. This time, even smarter, even more careful, and even more effective than before. For over 2.5 years, Kevin lived like a true ghost in the system. He moved constantly between cheap motels across the United States, always paying in cash and changing locations every few days to avoid any pattern. He used multiple fake identities that were carefully crafted and perfectly maintained over time. He cloned phone after phone, so his location could never be triangulated or traced by law enforcement. Every single day without fail, he continued his work. He penetrated the secure networks of the biggest telecom companies in the world. He stayed inside their systems for months on end, moving silently and invisibly through their entire digital infrastructure. He read internal memos that no outsider was ever supposed to see. He listened to private executive conversations about future products, strategies, and plans. He copied proprietary source code that companies had invested years and millions of dollars to develop. Kevin knew exactly how to make people want to help him without hesitation. He always used a friendly and professional tone. He told the right story at exactly the right moment. He applied just the perfect amount of pressure or urgency to make helping him feel like the most natural decision in the world. And without fail, they handed over the keys to their entire digital kingdom. The FBI was hunting him full-time with every resource they had available. They created special, dedicated task forces whose only job was to find him. They worked closely with the top security experts in the country and set up extensive surveillance operations. But Kevin stayed remarkably calm, highly unpredictable, and always one move ahead of his pursuers. He never stayed in one place too long. He never used the same technique twice in a row. He made absolutely sure that no one could ever predict his next step or his next target. Then came the one mistake that would eventually bring everything crashing down around him around Christmas 1994. Kevin decided to have a little fun and test his skills further. He targeted a top computer security expert named Tsutomu Shimomura. He successfully broke into Shimomura's personal computer and took some files. He even left taunting messages on his voicemail, almost daring the expert to try and catch him. That single act of overconfidence turned one very skilled and determined man into a relentless hunter. Shimomura became completely obsessed with tracking Kevin down. He teamed up with the FBI and began an intense and highly technical pursuit They started analyzing every digital footprint Kevin had left behind and tracking the signal from his cloned phone using advanced equipment. The net slowly but surely began to tighten around him. On February 15, 1995, Kevin walked into his apartment in Raleigh, carrying simple takeout food as if it was just another ordinary evening. He had no idea what was waiting for him inside. 20 FBI agents stormed the apartment in a perfectly coordinated raid. Lights flashing everywhere, guns drawn, voices shouting clear commands. Kevin Mitnick, you're under arrest. They found everything they needed: cloned phones, stolen source code, fake IDs, and detailed evidence of hacks that had spanned years and affected some of the biggest companies in the world. The media exploded with the news within hours. Headlines across the country and around the world called him the most dangerous hacker on the planet. Television stations ran story after story about the man who had outsmarted the FBI. For so long, Kevin spent the next 5 years in prison. For part of that time, he was held in solitary confinement under strict conditions. Authorities were terrified of times what he could do even from inside a jail cell with nothing but a telephone line. They took extreme measures to isolate him completely. When he finally got out in the year 2000, everything had changed dramatically in the world of technology. Kevin turned his life around completely and for good. He became one of the world's most respected cybersecurity consultants. He started working directly with the same kinds of companies he had once hacked. All facts verified from public records and court documents. If you want more real stories like this, hit subscribe.